No.
I don't think so.
Scott.
Here.
Berenstein.
Here.
Bertrand.
Here.
Rayford.
Here.
Shaner.
Here.
Please stand for a moment of silent prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Interview for the Building and Housing Code Board, Todd Hageman. Todd, come on up and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
Hi, I'm Todd Hageman, applying for the position again. I've been a part of the building trades for 43 years, so been self-employed for 32. Just interested in being part of the process, so I guess that's why I'm here.
Is this your second term?
This would be the second one, yes.
Okay. Questions?
Appreciate your application and your continued interest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Civil Service Commission, Andrea Buckley. Same thing, Andrea. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Andrea Buckley. I am applying for this commission. I've served on a number of nonprofit boards over the years. Most recently, I served 11 years with the Sioux Community Health Center. I term limited out of that, and I kind of miss being involved on a board or doing something in the community again. I picked this commission in particular because much of my work with the Sioux Community Health Center was related to their HR policies and procedures and their employment, just their general employment, making them a good place to work and to attract employees. I also, in my previous work, was a managing attorney at Iowa Legal Aid, and in that role, I supervised attorneys and staff and worked to recruit staff, and so it's just an area where I have a lot of experience and thought it would be a good way to help the community.
Good. Questions?
Do you feel like you have a pretty good background understanding what the Civil Service Commission does and their procedures?
I think so. I mean, obviously, the nonprofit world is different than the public employees. I do have a union background. I was a union member, again, not a public union, but I think there would be some information I'd have to learn. But I think a lot of the knowledge that I have would be applicable and transfer over.
Thank you.
You got some big shoes to fill. Are you ready for that?
I hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Jacob Wonderscheid. What do we got, 2 openings because of elections?
It's one.
Let me
Just-
look
just-
out here.
One open.
Just
Just
Mr.
one.
Rayford's position.
His,
Yeah,
Yep.
but Cindy Hansen got off too.
No, she
No, she's
ended.
still on.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you have a difficult position. I think you have 2 really good candidates. Again, Jacob Wonderscheid.
Go ahead.
Before I speak, sorry. Again, as an executive director of the Food Bank of Siouxland, in my role, I do a lot of the things that I think the Civil Service Commission would do, reviewing job descriptions, looking at and answering those questions about civil service tests, reviewing those issues that would come up for employees. Again, one of the biggest things I do at the food bank is want to act with honesty and integrity, and that's what I could bring to the position.
Okay.
Yeah, you're correct with it. This will be a difficult decision because you're both very qualified, more than capable. And it's what's so difficult is having capable, interested candidates for these positions and then not being able to address
that's a
both.
good problem to have.
Yes,
It is a good-
I think
You know,
so.
oftentimes, you know, a certain commission will sit empty and it's hard to get people to volunteer. So I hope that either of you know that whomever's chosen, it's not lack of, it's lack of a second seat.
Yep. And again, I'd rather you have 2 good choices
Yes.
than no choices at all.
Absolutely.
And Jacob, you resigned or your term limited on another committee? right?
My other
Commission?
one did expire. The I really enjoyed my time on that committee, but as a work matter caused me to have to dial in more often than
Yeah.
I felt comfortable staying on the effective policy committee. I really liked working with Julie and Teresa and the rest of the staff there, but just with my food bank schedule, this one would work a little bit better.
You know, the Effective Public Policy Committee is one put together 20 years ago when I was, and it's such an important board.
Yep.
And it provides such good input, so we've got to make sure we've got qualified candidates there too.
Okay, thank you. We'll
Thank
have
you.
to
Thank you,
decide
Jeff.
again. We'll go to the consent agenda, which is 3 through 11B today. You can consider these items passed unanimously unless a separate roll call vote's called for by the council. If you want to speak on an item, please come up as I read. If you want to speak on an item not under the agenda, please come up under citizen concerns. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
3 is a resolution adopting the fourth quarter supplement to the municipal code. 4 is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with HDR Engineering to complete the bill grant application for the Bacon Creek Conduit Project.
Can I ask who's here on this item?
Mr.
Gordon Fair, City Engineer. What was your question?
Gordon, the question I've got is, can you help primarily for the new council members, can you help us understand how this consulting agreement and this project ties into the wastewater treatment project as a whole?
It doesn't,
It doesn't at all?
no.
This is stormwater.
It doesn't tie in at all to the wastewater treatment?
No.
Okay, thank you.
The one we awarded a week or two ago does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was related to Bacon Creek as well?
Right.
Okay,
Right,
thank,
that was the
It
Bacon
all
Creek.
comes together at the same kind of place.
that's what I wanted.
That was
Thank
for
you.
the sanitary sewer that's underneath Bacon Creek
Okay,
channel. This is for the Bacon Creek conduit that's underneath Gordon Drive.
Okay.
Right there in front of Mosaics, that area. That's the one that's being rebuilt with the DOT for the Gordon Drive Viaduct.
okay, great, thank you.
Gordon, I have a question for you. If this grant isn't awarded to us, is there a contingency or would this work continue? I mean, what would happen with this project?
If we don't award it to these guys, then we could do a couple of things. We could go out to get another consultant to look at it. They're pretty extensive grant applications. That's why it's,
No, what he's asking is if you don't get I think, the grant itself, if you don't get it, what's your alternative to replace that conduit?
the city's going to pay for that. This is just to help pay for it. So if we don't get the grant, we're going to have to find other funds.
And we're trusting this firm because they've had experience in writing
Yes.
for that particular.
Yes, we've already contracted with them for another application for another grant for
They're
the
going to go
same
out,
project.
they're going to go out and find the money. This is the same, the HDR is the same firm that the DOT uses. So again, the money that we allocated last week is for utilities. We can't pay for utilities out of the road use fund. So what we have to do is we have to go out and find additional funds. These guys are going to go out and find the grants. It's actually working in conjunction with the DOT. So this is a good play. I'm not a big fan, again, for spending money, but this is one of those ones where it's part of the process. There's a way bigger picture that's going to be unrolled to us by the DOT and those here in the next, 6 months, that it's going to excite the city and with the new council that's going to push it a different direction. But this is the first step, so it's good support.
Thanks for the clarification.
I do want to, Teresa Fitch, Finance Director, I did want to clarify that we do have a grant services agreement with HDR as well to provide these throughout the city. So we'll be just starting here in the next week or so for them to do an analysis for all of our main projects and whatnot, but this does tie in with that as well. So
Thank
I'll let you know. Thanks.
5 is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the central maintenance garage vehicle and CONO2 DOS project. 6 are appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. A is a motion reappointing Robert DeSmit to the Active Transportation Advisory Committee upon due consideration of the circumstances. The City Council waives a policy that no person shall serve more than 2 consecutive terms. B is a motion reappointing Jamie Bell to the Art Center Board of Trustees. C is a motion appointing Aaron Coma to the Building and Housing Code Board. D is a motion appointing Todd Evans to the Building and Housing Code Board. E is a motion reappointing Samantha Daly to the Environmental Advisory Board. F is a motion appointing Bob Fitzmeyer to the Environmental Advisory Board. G is a motion reappointing Steve Warren to the Jillian Kosovo Sister City Committee. H is a motion appointing Tim Clark to the Museum Board of Trustees. I is a motion appointing Joe Craig to the Parks and Recreation, reappointing to the Parks and Rec Board. J is a motion appointing Brett Myers to the Yamanashi City Sister City Committee. K is a motion reappointing Nathan Swartz to the Yamanashi City Sister City Committee. 7 are actions relating to grants. A is a resolution authorizing submission of an airport terminal grant application to the FAA to fund the airport terminal improvement project at the airport. B is a resolution authorizing execution of an IDOT federal aid agreement for the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program for Hamilton Boulevard Mill and Overlay Project Phase 2. 8 are actions relating.
Mayor, can I go back quickly? On projects like 7B, can I just ask that if there's a map that you can, I think we've all got a general sense of where you're describing Hamilton Boulevard, 15th Street, 20th, but can we get in the materials a map of the area as well? Would that be possible?
For all of our projects? Certainly.
Yes, please.
Certainly. Yep.
Thank you.
8 are actions relating to personnel. A is a resolution amending the statement of authorized personnel complement by reclassifying one position of administrative assistant risk manager coordinator in the legal department. B is a resolution amending resolution number 25-0494, which approved the wage reopener of the Sioux City Firefighters Association Local 7 International Association of Firefighters by approving a memorandum of understanding, Appendix A. Salary schedule that includes additional fire bargain classification listing for the fire lieutenants and fire captains who possess an EMTA and paramedic classification.
Can we have somebody come up and talk about this? Who's here? Hello, Neil.
Hey, Neil Paulson, 4530 Manor Circle, current president of the Local 7 Firefighters Association. Sent you guys a quick email before I came up here. I hope you all got that. I don't have access to work email outside of the job, so anyway, if you mind, would you want me to read what I wrote? Or?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so on the subject of the MOU, it's an agreement for a difference in how the certification pay was calculated for our officers regarding their EMTA and paramedic pay. Through the process, we thought we had come to an agreement on that. We were waiting on the finalization from finance. We did sign a TA. It was just the signature page from TA on the promise that everything had been changed on the financial end of it. After the fact that when we finally got the whole copy of it, it came out that it wasn't what we thought we had negotiated on, so we had some more meetings, came up with this MOU to correct that. It's currently being paid the correct way, and this was just the formal process they wanted us to go through to get up here and go through the MOU in front of council. So that's where I'm standing on that issue.
Well, our two choices, are we still considering the improvement for, one of them was like 30-some thousand, the other was 55?
On the topic of the training officer.
Yes.
a separate item.
Right.
Yep.
I have a question for our fine negotiating team. How could we have this misunderstanding? I still don't understand it. And again, misunderstandings happen, I get it. But if this takes council action, why have we been paying them? What if the council were to say no today?
Teresa Fitch, Finance Director. If we want to go back to negotiation, we can talk about really why it was presented the way it was. Our intent on our end was to clean up the salary schedules. So right now, each one of those classifications requires a different salary schedule. So instead of having 3 salary schedules, we had 9 salary schedules. So that was really the goal. Now, it was Once we put it in place, we thought that there was an understanding, they understood how it would be paid. Unfortunately, when you go to pay and add pay, it doesn't include, that's not included on overtime, and deferred comp isn't calculated with that wage. However, that is how it was budgeted. So really, when we went into negotiation, anything that we did for ad pay would have been a reduction to what was budgeted. So we didn't have an implication to the budget. And I mean, Janelle can speak on the MOU and why it's coming back to council. But from our standpoint, really our intent going in was to clean up the salary schedules with an unintended consequence that calculating with an ad pay would not include overtime. That wage wouldn't be included in overtime or in the deferred comp calculation. So that really wasn't the intent. And I thought at that time, I thought we had an understanding that they understood that how it would be calculated, but clearly that wasn't the case. So that's what happened during the negotiation. Now, why the MOU has to come back to council, that's something Janelle can speak.
Well, no, so we didn't budget for this, so we had
We did budget. We budgeted, because the way that we're currently, the MOU states right now is how we're currently paying it and has always paid it. We have always paid it that way. That's how it was budgeted. When we went into negotiation, I'll just take responsibility. I had the grand idea of cleaning up the salary schedules, so that was the goal. But in that case, the way it would have been calculated under an ad pay, it would have actually been a reduction to the budget because we would not have had that pay on overtime or deferred comp.
Okay,
So it's not an increase in the budget.
I just don't understand how we're even here today. I don't get it. I don't know how you can negotiate and think you got an agreement and two sides can come back later and.
I think we went through that and we talked about asking more questions if there really isn't an understanding or being more clear. But when we presented it to them, we thought they understood that it was like a different type of pay that they received, but that's not what they understood. So in the spirit of the negotiation, the intent was not to pay them on their.
Sure, we got to vote yes today.
Well.
So it's budget neutral, and what you'll be presenting us on the operating budget a couple of weeks already reflects this
Correct.
as well.
And it's always been calculated that way. This would have been a change to the current calculation.
That's what I don't get. You thought you had a contract, and so why didn't you change the way you were paying it if you thought?
Well, we did. And at the time that we determined that, again, the understanding wasn't there, we were notified that that's not how they understood it to be, so we've corrected it. Again, because
Go back to my second question then. If this takes council approval and you thought you had a contract, why are you paying it until council approves it?
Mainly because I asked them to bring forward an MOU so the council had a full understanding of what was occurring. Instead of amending the full contract, we did it as a memorandum of understanding so there would be no future misunderstandings. Is that okay?
Right.
Less now than when
Sorry.
So is this is it a classification change? So it's not,
no, it's really just a change in the salary schedule. So it's now going back and reverting back to how we've always calculated it. During the negotiation, we were going to change the calculation to what we call an ad pay. Now they will have all of those different salary schedules. So,
for example, there'll be Janelle Bertrand, Human Resources Director. There'll be a lieutenant EMTA, and a lieutenant paramedic. 3 for just lieutenant, and there'll be 3 for captain. We were trying to eliminate 6 and just have 2.
no questions? Thank you.
C is a resolution amending the authorized personnel complement, the position classification manual, and the safety schedule by adding the position titles and job descriptions, EMS training officer, the EMS lead medic, and reclassifying one position of the emergency medical technician, lead medic training officer to EMS training officer, and reclassifying 3 positions of emergency medical technical lead medic training order to EMS lead medic, and authorize said positions in the fire department. This is the one you had a question.
Yeah, this is the one.
Neil Paulson, Local 7 President. With this change, first off, thank you and congrats to you guys for getting up here. I look forward to working with you. In regards to action item 8C, we would like to support the alternative option for that. We feel that the proposed conversion of the existing position for primarily pay reasons is not addressing the deficiencies, need, or opportunities of the EMS training officer position. Locking this position into a single role provider position will continue to hamper the position's potential to benefit the department's training and capabilities. The benefits far outweigh the negatives by bringing this position in line with our existing department hierarchy and promotional processes. We encourage you to ask the following questions to our chief in regard to the position. Not all you got that. So one is do you feel it would be more beneficial for this position to be a fire deputy training officer versus an EMS only training officer?
And the fire deputy officer will have EMS,
Yes,
It'll be a brand-new position, though.
right, but they'll have both EMS and fire.
correct. So in the position currently, you'd be required to, and I believe it's on that job description there, have your EMS instructor, paramedic, ACLS, PALS, all our advanced certifications, and able to instruct those. In addition to that, you'll have to have your fire instructor 1, any other certifications that are required. So you'll do all the duties that were listed in that job description, plus you'll be able to transition and work with fire on that side doing our suppression training.
Don't you already have a training officer?
We have 1 training officer currently.
Yeah, so.
On the fire
It
side.
will be an
Correct.
additional,
So
is
it will
one.
be able, we are definitely in need of a third. But in addition to that, the EMS training officer can't cross over right now if it's a single role.
Because they're not fire.
They're not a firefighter. So by having that position in there, it will counter some of our overtime pay that we currently pay some of our instructors that come in off duty. So there are ways that this will pay for itself over time, over the course of the year by negating some overtime, and my members might be upset.
So Neil, that's the question I got on that. So on the overtime side of it, so you're looking at the difference between the 30,000 and 52. So you're really asking a $22,000 difference to extend the role. But with the extended role, it's going to basically wipe out the overtime opportunities that you were spending on the other role?
Yeah, and just the few we pointed out, I think we can eat up that 22 with the negated of overtime.
And is this part of the process, what you guys did? I was paying attention, Chief, when we sat, when you guys moved the EMS over, was it like 15 employees or something like that? Walk us through that again.
Yeah,
Uh,
Is this
so-
part of that process?
Ryan Collins, Fire Chief. So in 2017, when we implemented the EMS transport service, part of that was establishing 4 lead medic positions. 3 of them were assigned to the operations division, meaning that they were the ones going out responding to calls. The other one was assigned to our training division, and they're responsible for managing the EMS certifications, developing training protocols, CQI, a host of list of other roles and responsibilities that were completely separate from the operations lead medics. The problem is all 4 were lumped into one just job description, even though they had completely separate roles and responsibilities and work schedules. The operations personnel were working 24/48s, meaning that they were working 2,912 hours a year. Excuse me. The lead medic who was in the training was only working 2,080 hours a year, a standard 40-hour work week. When FLSA comes into play, EMS personnel were required to pay them overtime for anything over 40 hours per week. So what happens then is now we have 4 lead medics, 3 of them are making 32% more than the one in the training division. That EMS training officer position is now vacant. The person that would held that position since 2017 has left, and now we're having recruitment issues. We can't find anybody that would fill that position because they're going to take a significant pay cut. So that's why we're here. That's why we separated the job classifications out so that the roles and responsibilities are clearly delineated between the 2. And then we can adjust the pay scale to bring into parity with the other lead medics based on that hourly wage. Does that make sense?
And Chief,
So that's kind of where we're at.
do I remember correctly, the overtime component is in the collective bargaining agreement as well?
Yes, so because the EMS or the lead medic on the operations side, because they work at an average of 56 hours per week, by law, we have to pay them 16 hours overtime per week.
That's their guarantee, the 56
Mm-hmm.
hours.
Yeah, it's, when you say guaranteed, it's not guaranteed, because if they take a sick leave or a vacation
right,
day,
right.
they're not making up those 40 hours a week, so
Right.
they're not receiving that.
But if they work a
16 hours of work.
40-hour week,
Yes,
they get to 56, that's.
If they work that
16
full week, they will receive that 16 hours of overtime. Yep.
Right. Well, the workload was also brought to my attention that the fire training officer, that captain, handles about 30,000 hours of training that he's accountable for
That's correct.
because of the number of firefighters. They have 30,000 hours of training, and he manages that process to make sure every firefighter has the training, has signed it up for it, completed it, it's documented, et cetera. And the EMSTO on the EMS side, that training personnel handles around 2,000 to 2,500 hours. So where does this fit in with having the cross-training that we've been working towards? We've wanted firefighters who are EMS so that they can do both.
Right, so.
That's the goal, right?
So in 2024, due to recruitment challenges, we couldn't get enough paramedics to
Right.
apply. So we separated out, we designated 15 positions for fire personnel. So right now, every single day, we do have fire personnel that are assigned to an ambulance. So we are cross-servicing the community, making sure that we have enough staffing to run ambulances at least a minimum staffing level. From a training perspective, the fire training officer will deal with the fire training. The EMS officer deals with the CQI, the EMS training, the licensure management. It's not
Or your
something that both
firefighters are
people.
just for,
Sorry?
or your firefighters are just for the non-firefighters?
For the entire department.
That's what I'm saying, he's
Yeah.
already cross-training.
Well, when you
The
say cross,
captain from
the
fire
EMS
is.
training officer?
No,
The EMS training officer, does he train firefighters?
No.
For
For EMS-related training, yeah.
Yeah, yes, he does.
But
but
not,
he's not a firefighter is
right,
what I'm.
but he doesn't provide any
he's still not
firefighter
gonna
or technical
train-
rescue training.
Firefighters are going to train firefighters for firefighting.
Right.
EMS are going to train whoever, a firefighter or an EMS paramedic, whatever.
Right.
They're going to train.
That's correct.
You guys will never be happy till they're all firefighters. I get that.
We
But-
see an opportunity to make this position better.
Yeah, but
That's why
we,
we're up
you
here.
know, that's what but it always costs money. That's my problem. We did what you asked us to do and got rid of a bunch of EMTs and paramedics. And now here we are. And what really bothers me more than anything about this has really not as much to do with this position, is other departments have to wait till the budget process, but by golly, we're gonna do this today.
This is a vacant position that we cannot fill,
I
and we
understand
have
that.
legal obligations. We have to have an EMS training officer in order for us to continue our.
But it just depends on whose ox is being gored around City Hall, who gets to replace these ahead of time, ahead of the budget process. We have a budget process for a reason. And that always bothers me that we pick and choose winners outside of that process. I don't think that's right.
Well, we did, I can just speak to that a little bit. So we did meet as hiring justification on replacements. So we met and heard the obligations that this current position has. So I instructed them to put it on an agenda ahead of the budget process, just because of the responsibility, only because of this position.
I can understand all that, but we get to pick winners and losers here today, and that bothers the heck out of me.
Mayor Scott, to clarify, we did not eliminate any positions. We added the fire capability to 15 of those positions.
I didn't
They are
say you
still
did.
EMTs and paramedics working those ambulances.
I didn't say you did. I said you wanted extra people being firefighters, and we voted for that. I remember.
It was just a reclassification of job positions. The same number of people still do those jobs.
I'm not arguing any of that.
With our current recruitment issues, I'm glad we did what we did when we did, because have the same problem, if not worse, right now.
So Chief, does this affect certification, and is there a period of time where you've got concern that
So right now, our fire training officer has assumed all the roles and responsibilities of the former EM training officer. So a lot, he's had to really prioritize a lot of the things that he's doing. You know, getting him the relief that he needs as soon as possible, I know would be much appreciated. I will say that statewide, we looked at many of the other fire departments and specifically their training divisions. And on average, there are about one training officer per 56 personnel. If we only look at fire, we're at one training officer per 120 firefighters. So the ratio, we're a little bit lean in the training division office. And it's hard to compare apples to apples because we're very unique in the state in where that we have an EMS division where that we have civilian personnel, where a lot of the other departments that are fire-based EMS are pretty much all firefighters. So we're a little bit unique.
So the staff recommendation is to replace.
Based on the Position Review Committee's recommendation is to replace it with an EMS training officer that comes from the EMS division.
So do we think that there'll be any ripple effects, you know, with other departments or other, you know,
I don't
positions?
see there being ripple effects with other departments, but we could be coming back again and again based on in the future if we have any recruitment and retention challenges within the position.
And really, part of the question becomes if we permit this today, and we start visiting with you in the next 2 or 3 weeks on the operating budget, which will include this position, is it going to affect your ability to recruit over the next couple of weeks? If not, the financial impact is irrelevant until you hire the position.
Right. Yeah, this is just the first step. We still need to get it approved through the Civil Service Commission, still have to develop testing procedures, and then we have to get qualified applicants.
Has this been put out there, the job opening yet?
No, this is the first step. We have to do this. We had to separate the two in order to wage up, increase that wage so that we can bring parity with the other lead medics to entice people to apply.
So to the mayor's comment, the request right now has virtually no impact. We'll deal with it when we meet with you later in the month on the operating budget, and then it'll have an impact. Because what Bob is saying is, why is this coming out of the normal course of the budget cycle? Effectively, it will.
Yes, yes, and I will say that we do have legal obligations to fill this position from a state EMS continuing education standards. We have to have a dedicated EMS training officer on staff or someone that's capable of providing that type of training.
If the alternative's chosen with the deputy training officer, that position could be filled tomorrow. We have a promotional list in place. There's qualified applicants on that list. So this could be done tomorrow.
But then the alternative is then that increase, right, of
22,000.
Yeah.
2,000.
Yeah.
Well,
the
you
difference
guys are,
between-
timing is always great on these issues. It's right before the old smokers, so then if you vote no today, you really look good when you go to that smoker.
Which we look forward to hosting you all on Wednesday and Thursdays.
I don't think I'll be coming, but go ahead and welcome.
Chief, question.
Sorely missed.
Yes, sir.
I guess the question is that as we start as a new council, the question we need to ask on every issue is, what do the taxpayers get for this? I know it's very simple. What does the guy get that's having the heart attack laying in the middle of Alice Street? Does this make it say, does it help him? How does it help? How does it help the tax? 22 grand is what we're talking about. And
Right.
it probably won't be tacked on until the next budget anyway. So, but the position is being filled because obligation, it's a transition. So what's the citizen get for this? What's the difference if we hire one or the other?
So this.
I know what it does
as far
for the
as one or
departments,
other,
but you guys.
One or the other, they're both going to provide a level of training to ensure that anybody that's riding an ambulance or anybody that's responding to that cardiac arrest call is fully competent to do the critical tasks that are necessary. To President Paulson's point, if that alternative's selected, then that just offers a little bit more flexibility and capacity within the training division because they're able to assist with the fire side as well. But that costs more.
But what about alleviating that overtime now? Doesn't that go towards?
How do you measure that? Because we've never been able to measure overtime in the fire department.
Difficult to measure that.
It is.
Because, I mean, there's live fire training, there is hazmat training,
Right, right.
that we often have to bring in overtime to fill. I can't give you an accurate number on that, how much money that would save in overtime.
That was my question as well. Do you have a sense of what kind of overtime cost reductions would apply?
We do approximately, I think it's about $10,000 just in the live fire trainings alone. If that one person, that one position offsets an adjunct instructor that's brought in on overtime, just that one offset is 10 grand, just with our live fire. Now, there's all sorts of specialty trainings that we do, rope rescues, hazmat, that those also have hours where overtime is brought in to instruct those courses, where this could be used to offset those hours.
And the firefighters require that many more hours
Yep.
of certification every year and training? Wow. Because that is a huge difference, 30,000 hours that one person is responsible for tracking, scheduling, making sure it's complete.
But isn't that because you have
Is
many
it because there's
more
so many
firefighters?
more of them?
There's 120 fire
They're
suppression.
talking,
Well, I understand that, but
Yep.
still, I'm just
Total hours
talking
per training
workload.
position.
One person doing it and one
268
person
hours.
doing it. Right.
268 hours a year is what our.
Right, so your captain is not only managing that 30,000 hours of training, he's also now managing in the interim, the 2,500, right?
And at the end of the day, we still have a compliance and a regulation issue, right?
And that's the main thing.
That's why I kind of like the alternative, because maybe we can resolve this sooner without falling out of compliance and putting anyone at risk.
Well, last comment for me is I think that it helps the conversion, I guess, to what you guys are trying to accomplish. But I think from a, get something, take something away, I can probably say that my focus is going to be is when we enter into the budget process, is that we're just going to look for 22,000 somewhere else in that budget. If you want to shift your budget around, great. If it makes sense to make the department more efficient and what you want to do, great. But I think that just come with an open mind and expectations that my goal is probably to find that 22 somewhere else in the budget as we review it and to smooth it off, if that makes sense. From a fiscal standpoint, I'm here to not grow government, but to make it more efficient. If you're telling me it's more efficient, let's do it. If it's part of the, again, you don't need a EMT until you're laying in the road. And it's very, very important to this community. And but that's kind of where my focus is. We'll find it in the budget on the backside.
I'm going to move on unless you want to make a motion, Julie.
Well, can we make a motion to pull out 8C and bring it back next week?
Do what?
Pull it out and bring it back?
Pull it out and bring it back?
Do whatever
So
you
that we
want to
can
do.
consider the alternative? Because I don't
You
think
can
we
make a
all heard
motion
or
to it.
read or knew anything about the alternative.
Yeah, we didn't
So-
get your email because we were tied up in.
Right, so.
There, so.
I feel
Okay,
educated.
so I'm going to move that we pull 8C and bring it back next week.
So if I may ask a question, if you're moving to defer, it would come back as currently
As current-
presented.
Oh, that's true.
Is there direction to staff to bring it back with both
You're gonna have to
alternatives?
move it to accept it as a firefighter position rather than an EMT position.
Well, the alternative, that's what that is.
And the alternative is in the proposal, so I don't know.
The alternative is in the.
It's not,
Yes.
it's not in the
It's not on the-
RCA. If you want to move it, make it a firefighter, you have to move that as an amendment.
And the resolution is currently not drafted to incorporate that. So what is in front of the council today would need to be altered.
Is anybody here from EMS to weigh in?
Janelle Bertrand, Human Resources Director. If we defer this, I think it's only fair that we give the AFSCME Pets Union representative an
what do you say?
opportunity to come to
Yeah.
present information as well.
So for purposes of having it be cleaner, perhaps a deletion, and then bringing it back with both
That would
alternatives
probably be
specified.
Do we bring two RCAs then and let them vote down one and vote the other one up?
Potentially, or we can just have one on the agenda with the alternate already drafted as an attachment to the RCA, so the council could just move to swap that out.
I'll second that.
Berenstein?
Aye.
Bertrand?
Aye.
Rayford?
Aye.
Shaner?
Aye.
Scott?
No, I'm ready to vote today. D is a resolution amending the authorized personnel position classification manual and salary schedule by adding a position title and job description of transcription and redaction specialist and reclassifying 2 positions of the word processor to transcription and redaction specialist and reclassifying 1 part-time position of word processor to transcription and redaction specialist and authorizing said positions in the police department. 9 are purchasing. A is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Converge 1 for the Extreme Network switches. B is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Faro Technologies for Faro Focus Core Laser Scanner for the police department. C is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Woodhouse Ford Chrysler for 1 Chevrolet Trailblazer. 10 are applications for liquor and licenses. 11 are beer commission and committee minutes. Anyone to be heard on any of those items?
On the consent agenda, you would vote electronically using that.
Did you vote? Who didn't? Everybody voted? Oh, I'm sorry, passed 5-0. 12 is a hearing resolution approving plans and specs for the Isabella Square and Lions Park area HMA resurfacing project. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. Citizen concerns. Any citizen want to be heard, please come to the microphone. Remember to state your name for the record.
Brett Watchorn, Morningside, that work? Need your address? I never know.
Nope, you don't need it.
Cool. Well, I forgot that last time I wanted to start all of my, anytime I'm up here with, I don't remember the First Amendment having a 3-minute time limit, but, you know, that just happens. Other than that, I'd like to welcome the new council members. From what I've seen today, I'm pleased so far with your candor. I will also like to lay a request at the council, the same one I did at the outgoing council, actually. I would like to see a revisiting of the meeting time. I'm soon not going to be able to make these meetings, and the city attorney and manager have said that they have no interest in trying to gain any kind of community interaction through the YouTube broadcast. So I would just like to see that revisited, and I hope the new members would like to see that as well. I just want to see more interaction up here. And when it comes to the YouTube thing, I thought about it again, and I realized the only argument the city attorney has against comments on YouTube is that they're afraid of a lawsuit for blocking someone. And I realized, well, there's an easy solution to that. You don't block anybody. The First Amendment is the right of all of us, and we have the right to be heard. That's why their lawsuit would exist if they block someone. That's all I got. Thanks, y'all. Once again, welcome.
Thank you.
Anyone else be heard? Seeing none, we'll go to council concerns. Mr. Bertrand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, council concerns, not really concerns, just I was told this at the time with the city manager, if we wanted to add things to the agenda or something next week. Kind of as people have asked for more transparency and more public debate at these things, at these meetings. I'm going to ask our city manager to start adding some things to the agenda, just some standing discussions, if that makes. First, I'd like to ask Mike to add Chief Mueller to the weekly agenda, simply because I know the day after the election that you guys formed a homeless task force that is being implemented. And we would love to have just a real-time update basically on the task force, really talking about hot spots, the communication that's out there, that's the progress of the task force on a weekly basis, just because from a priority standpoint, I think this is not just a community concern, but it's an economic concern. So would love to hear from the chief every week. Just give us an update on where we're at, if that's okay. And it can be as brief as it is. Just an opportunity for us to ask questions and interact with you on a weekly basis would be fantastic on that end of it. Second of all, I'd also ask our city manager to ask our permitting department. I don't want to hear from Daryl. I would rather hear from Brian and from Henry. I would like to hear the permits that were submitted for the week. I would also like to hear what permits are sitting in the queue, how long they've been sitting in the queue, what's holding them up, and an opportunity to interact with them and a dialogue on what's going on there. So I would ask that would come from Henry and from Brian on a weekly basis, that we can interact with them. Also, I'd like to have them provide an update on their communication with the economic development team, Mr. Meyer and those Marty Doherty's department. And as they receive these permits, are they actually reaching out to the economic development team? We're going to close that bridge between permitting and what's available in economic development, and that gives us an opportunity as a council to start having those discussions on a weekly basis. Also, I'd like to have Mike set up a process for business and for public retaliation complaints coming out of anywhere within the city. I think right now when things come in, we kind of dismiss a lot of this, especially from the business community. I want an opportunity, because when complaints come in from the business opportunity, I don't care if it's excessive harassment on job sites or anything, that I want to be able to put documentation in place that if we see a pattern start to emerge, that we can address this. The era of retaliation from this economic department, or I shouldn't say from the permitting and from the engineering department, stops today. Retaliation in the Sioux City is over when it comes to our building community. We're going to bring our builders back. If not, we're going to find people that will. Also, then I'd like to move forward and ask for Mike, if you line up with Teresa. Teresa did a really nice, where's Teresa at? Did a really nice presentation of, let's re-educate the public on what the levy, what property taxes mean when it comes to our city portion of it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. She did a great presentation explaining what portion of our budget, the total budget, comes from the levy, what can we control, and how easy or how hard it will be for this council to buy it down, because the goal of this council is to buy it down now or in 3 years with a new council. So I think, Teresa, we'd love to have an update just for the council itself, but also that we can share with the public on what really is collected from the city, from our levy, and what we can control up here from these desks, please. Also would like to see, it's going to be a couple long meetings, guys, but this is kind of where we're at the beginning. I'd also like to see, Mike, you line up with Tom. Tom, are you still in here? They're here. Wastewater treatment is a huge issue right now. Are we overbuilding? Are we underbuilding? Is the people involved? Where are we at? I just like to have an update for this council on where we at with the design budget. Are we on budget? Are they pushing dollars past into the build phase? We want to make sure we don't end up in the same situation that they had in San Antonio with the same firm. We want to get our hands around this this wastewater treatment plant before it gets away from us and falls eventually back on the hands, the laps of the taxpayers. So would love to have some straight talk there to give us an opportunity to ask some questions directly with you in there. Love it. You're doing a good job. When I made my rounds, I thought you were very upfront and candid with me, and I appreciated that. I look forward to pulling this project. This council looks forward to pulling that project through. Almost done, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to see us pull, I know I was talking to, I think it was Jill, right after the election, they'd heard some of the rhetoric. I know they're in the process of putting a list together for all of the public-owned properties. That's the loose lots. That is everything that is owned, receiving a lease, anything from the public. We want to get a hard look at that list. The public needs to get a hard look at what is the process to either get rid of this property, put it back on the tax rolls. It's time. We're not landlords, and we've got some discussion we can use with the county when it comes to those lots also. So please, Mike, on that. And then really lastly on this part of it is I'd like to get, and the one person that I purposely did not meet with and I'm going to is Parks and Rec, Matt. Is Matt in here? I don't think he is. I'd love for Matt to come in and give not just the council, but the public an update. They've got some great data on how many parks we have, how dated our park system is, how parks relate to economic development and low-income housing and affordable housing. It's time for us to think different as a community. It's time for us to think big, not get upset when we start to make these kind of changes. And I believe the Parks Department is part of a new boom in economic development and affordable housing within our industry. We have an outdated park system, so I'd love to have Matt come in and give us an update and allow this council to interact. Other than that, Mr. Mayor, it's been a great first meeting. I wish I would have been part of the last 7 weeks when you guys were able to push through and spend millions of dollars on a lame duck session, but I was not available. We were not available for that, so I guess we're going to move forward with some resolutions and some simple things until we jump in. So thank you, and I look forward to 2026.
Greg. Very quickly, I appreciate, Rick, some of your summary. It's the agenda that you outlined is really pretty consistent with what I think Ike and Rick and I learned on the campaign trail. And I think we look forward to dealing with those issues, getting more information and more updates, and moving forward with the concerns that were shared with us during the process. I do want the one I want to pull out in particular is the homelessness and the transient population issue. I think it's fair to say that throughout the last 3 or 4 months, when Ike and Rick and the other candidates were part of the process, of the campaigning process, we consistently heard that issue. And I know I had a nice opportunity to visit with Rex. I think he's still there, he is. And so I think I would really like to better understand what process and what timeline and how we're going to bring the stakeholders together to better understand how we can manage this issue. So if we could get something, Mike, in the relatively near future, I would appreciate that. Brent, I wanted to comment on your comments. I think I can speak for the whole council when I say we would appreciate and welcome more participation at these meetings. As a matter of fact, the mayor, when we were sworn in on Friday, made a plea to a packed standing room only crowd, requesting that we get more participation and more attendance on these meetings. I do believe, and Mike, maybe you can correct me, I do believe that we talked in the past about adjusting the timing and the availability of these meetings, and I would certainly encourage that discussion. I'm not sure that it works. I think 4 o'clock on Mondays tends to be the most available time for the citizenry, but I'm certainly happy to revisit it if there are opportunities as well. That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Mike?
Oh, thank you. I echo what I've heard. First and foremost, I do want to thank the city staff, Mike and such, for the wonderful orientation that we received over the last few weeks. It's been a lot to learn and soak in, and so thank each department head and everyone for that. And I would just echo that it would love to see more citizen concerns and those things, so we can definitely be responsive to those issues and those things. But other than that, I am just happy to be here and to listen and be responsive to the concerns and needs of our city.
Julie?
Welcome to our new members. It's refreshing to hear and see your energy. I agree with Rick on the housing, for sure. When you reference Jill, you're right. We do have some inventory that needs to be put out there and made available. We're just coming off the tail end of making that happen with all of our non-conforming lots in Sioux City, and that's kind of been the hurdle, is that those are non-conforming lots. They're not 5,000 square feet. We don't have room for a 25-foot setback, et cetera, but we've already made the changes ahead of time. Jill is just wrapping up getting all of these properties appraised. We've acquired some from the county that are within the city limits that we'd like to see developed on. We've already changed minimum square footage, so if we want some small cottages as small as 400 square feet, which we've heard the public ask us for, those zoning changes have already been made. They don't have to be 25-foot setbacks. They don't have to be a 5,000 square foot lot. We're ready for this. So we're just following the laws and getting these lots assessed or appraised so that we know how we can offer them up two small developers who do want to conduct some infill. Parks and Rec has given us some land that they were not using that we're going to be introducing to this mix as well. So I agree wholeheartedly. We have too many parks in the city, and I hate to say that because I don't mean it in a bad way, but we are paying for maintenance of 60 parks in a city of 87,000, and that's a lot of parks. And so many times when we're going to bulldoze a building, or for example, the LEC over here, the county's going to take it down or have it taken down. And I saw quite a few comments of people saying, green space, let's make a park. And a park doesn't bring revenue. It doesn't help with increasing tax dollars so that we don't have to increase our levy. We put something there that's going to bring revenue, bring some tax dollars, that's what makes a difference. So on the housing piece, on the low-income housing, the affordable housing, I think we just have to realize we need it, and we can't say that we can't do it. We have been increasing that, and we are just on such a great trajectory towards making a difference on both affordable and attainable workforce housing and above. So it's all levels. There's no magic number for affordable housing. It's accessible housing to everyone is how I really feel about that.
Related to that, Julie, can I ask a quick question? Maybe you know this answer. What was the timeline on the traffic study for the Lieber development?
I believe they said sometime in January.
January?
Yep.
I knew it wasn't done. I just didn't know when they said that they were going to.
Why wouldn't you pass it before the traffic? Why wouldn't you pass it before the traffic study's done? I mean,
Okay, thank you.
should have waited.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Whoops.
Bertrand,
Aye.
Rayford,
Aye.
Shaner, Scott,
Aye.
Berenstein.
We'll work on these items.
Thank you.
Yep, yep.
You want that piece of paper?